Awesome.
You got fancy backdrop there.
I do. I mean, that's my green screen. It's my green
Nice.
screen, and then I have a cat sitting like right next to my camera right now. You can't.
You'll probably hear my dogs, so.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So let's kind of get right into it.
Okay.
So before I kind of just dive in on some things, let me just hear from you a little bit.
Yeah.
So I just want to hear about what your outcome is through all this, so the coaching, and then I want to hear mainly your outcome, and let's start with that.
Okay. I took some notes too. But generally speaking, or I have notes for this, generally speaking, what I'm hoping to get out of this is to understand where to be for my ideal client. So what social media platform to be on for my ideal platform from client, how to message them on that particular platform or platforms, including, and this might be too much, but I'm going to throw everything out there and you tell me. How to create an effective Facebook ad that gets people to actually contact me for my ideal client. Also, how to create an ideal Facebook live video where people actually comment, actually perform my call to action, right? Whatever that might be. And I liked your idea of like hosting workshops. Like you mentioned something like that as an example. So that's kind of intriguing. I'm not sure everything around that, but I like that too.
Awesome. Okay. So, so a lot of this, so you want to know, you basically want to know where your ideal clients are hanging out, essentially,
Yep.
And you want to communicate with them. Now, let me ask you this. So, when you get your leads, when you have the conversations, do you have a system for like the sales conversations, the enrollment conversations?
Yes, I do.
Do you feel pretty confident about that?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I don't hesitate on the price. I
Okay.
deliver the closing the deal, if you call it that,
Okay.
or whatever. Yeah.
Well, there's a few things I do want to share with you. I mean, I'm going to share with you the way that I do enrollment conversations too, just
Okay.
because I find it very effective and it works really well for coaching industry. So it works well for
Good.
health coaches. It works well for, I mean, whatever coaching, the coaching industry is kind of broad. It can go into life coaching, health coaching,
Yeah.
different areas.
Yep.
But I do want to talk a little bit about enrollment conversations. And then I also want to talk about some like fundamentals. So for instance, one of the things that I talk a lot about is like there's three main elements, especially in like the coaching industry or in these types of industries. And the big thing is if you were to chunk this up from a like, real broad perspective, it's kind of the three steps are you want to build your tribe,
Mm-hmm.
you want to engage your tribe, and then
Yep.
you want to market to your tribe. So those, if we just chunk up from a real general standpoint, like those are the three fundamentals that really make up, all of what we're trying to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
For you, building your tribe, that's where things like workshops are going to come into play.
Yeah.
Ideally, what I find to be most effective these days, and what I've seen work for a lot of people, is creating some kind of like a show almost, and that can be like a Facebook Live. Some people do it every day. You could do it every once a week even, but having like a set date and time, and then actually promoting that ahead of time. So, for instance, one of my a mentor of mine, I would call him a mentor. He runs an NLP coaching business. And are you familiar with NLP? Do you know what it is? Sort of.
I've heard it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it doesn't necessarily matter for the purpose of this. But what he does every Monday at 5 p.m. he does a live Q&A call, and so he's promoting that throughout the week. He's promoting it, letting people know that he's going to be on doing a Facebook Live. And by doing that, he's getting a much wider audience to actually show up and engage in the call. So he's
Got it.
making it more of an event than just randomly popping on
Yeah.
Facebook Live.
Yeah.
So this
I'm learning that.
yeah. So for you, I mean, first and foremost, I'd like to, by the time we're done over the next 4 weeks or however, depending on if we take a week off or anything, but however long that takes, I want to get you to the point where you have some kind of a lead generation kind of like show, because these things, what they do is I mean, their main primary function is ultimately to build visibility for you and to generate leads.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great.
Okay. So again, I'm just kind of taking the chunked up thing for now. We're going to get more specific as we go forward here.
Okay.
But once you start building your tribe and building your email list, building your prospects, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to engage them. And I know you're already doing some of this because I've seen that you have the email automation set up, things like that. But we want to be engaging them and keeping you top of mind. So that's going to be the email follow up. That's going to be possibly sending them to blog articles or sending them to other videos that you're posting, memes, whatever it is you're doing to keep active on social, keeping them engaged with you.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we've built that relationship up a little bit, that's when we're going to start marketing to them and making them offers. And so one of my outcomes for you is I really want to get down to the nitty gritty on defining your offers.
Okay.
So there's actually like this thing that I have my clients go through, and I'll have you go through it either probably for homework or something like after this call. But there's a blueprint to it where we're really looking at, we're creating like a blueprint with different, we're going to name like your entire program, and then we're going to break it down into a step-by-step system on how a client that works with you is going to achieve certain outcomes with their goals.
Okay, great.
There's a worksheet I'm going to have you work out. And we're basically going to name the program, and we're going to name each step along the process. Usually those steps will be like a formula or a step-by-step system, something like that. But we're going to name those along the way.
Great.
And then ultimately, we want to get people on the phone with you, or we want to get them in a one-on-one in person. And that's where the enrollment conversation really takes place.
Right.
And I just wanted to talk a little bit about that today, even just to get you, because I think it's really, really important. And I think me sharing kind of what I'm saying will kind of open up some neural pathways and get you thinking about what's possible here.
Okay.
So with any gig that you do, whether it's a speaking gig, like you do a chamber gig, or you're speaking at a library or a meetup, or you're hosting your own event, one of the best ways to build a coaching business is to end those sessions with a call to action that can be as simple as just, I want to gift you a free, 30 to 60 minute strategy session. And now that strategy session, you can name that whatever you want. It doesn't have to be a strategy session. It could be a coaching session. It could be a health session. It could be a magic session. I've heard so many different names for them. But the goal is to get people on the phone or get people one-on-one, because that's where we're going to change them from a prospect to a client. And that's where, that's where we're taking this ultimately.
Okay. Yep.
So once you've kind of booked that, your role is going to be to facilitate the conversation. And what we're really looking for is we want to ask the right questions.
Yeah.
So that we're getting to the client or the prospect's goals and dreams and values, what's most important to them. Mm-hmm. And then what we're ultimately doing is we're making a connection between where they are now, what their goals and values are, and then we're basically building a bridge in between. So if you picture, like, on one side of the mountain, we have the client in their before state. Mm-hmm. On the other side of the mountain, we have their goals, their dreams, their values. Yeah. And we're building the bridge, and that bridge is we want to tie that to become your program or whatever it is that you're selling.
That's so interesting, because in my closing, we call it the closing the deal conversation. In that conversation, I use the river, one side of the river to the other. So it's a very similar concept. So, yeah. Okay. Yep.
We're building the bridge. That's what we're looking at. And I've kind of so I want to show you how I would do this, and I'm tying it into like as a health coach here, so I'm making it more specific too.
Okay.
But ultimately, we want to go through a step-by-step process. We want to get them on the phone, and again, we're asking those right questions. So the first step obviously is book the call, book the conversation, and that could be at a again networking events. You might be able to book calls through them. It could be speaking gigs. It can be Facebook Live. You can even on those just ask people to commit to getting on the phone with you. And so let's just kind of look at this. So when you get on a call with a prospect, the first thing that I like to do is to state the purpose. So it's kind of like, thanks for showing up, and then we do what's called a pre-frame. And what we're going to say is, okay, so now that we're on the call, I want to do three things with you. So I want to do three things. I want to find out about your vision and your goals. Two, I want to understand your challenges and what's preventing you from reaching those now. And then three, I want to talk about a plan and a path for achieving those goals.
This is very familiar.
But it's good. I definitely want to spend some time on it though, because it's really, really important. And it's always a good refresher.
Yeah.
So the first thing I'll ask when somebody comes on generally is, so what inspired you to take the call today? So what inspired you to get on the phone with me? Get them to kind of start that out, get them talking a bit too. And then once I've had them kind of just answer that basic question, I'm going to ask them, so I'm going to say, so tell me about your vision and tell me about your goals. And I want to tie this in. I'm going to say, tell me about those personally, professionally, and financially. So actually, one thing that I like to do that it's kind of counterintuitive is, even though this is a health conversation, I want to tie it into their whole being. I want to go into like multiple areas of life. So we're not, instead of just focusing just on the health, because it's never usually just about the health. It's about other things as well.
And that's totally great, Justin, because my business is migrating more to like a lifestyle coach, with health being like the surface. Like if you don't have good health, you kind of can't really manage the other areas of your life successfully. So this fits in nicely and makes obvious sense to me. So. Awesome.
So yeah, one thing I would say is, your health impacts, if they said like, why are we talking about all these? They'd be like, well, your health impacts every area of your life. Yeah. If you, your health and your energy are going to impact these. So, if you don't have a lot of energy, how are you going to do professionally and financially? Yeah. So I want to tie, if they're fighting you on that or something, I would tie that in that way. So to make it clear.
Right.
And then it'd be, so tell me about your life, and I want to get them talking. And then I want to anytime, so when we get to the professional, personal, and financial goals, I want to get them quantified as specific as possible also. So someone might say, they might start out saying, personally, I want to lose weight. So I'd be like, okay, so how much weight would you like to lose over what period of time? Or, just an example, like I want to have a relationship. Okay. So when, what period of time would you like to achieve this in having a relationship? Or if they're vague, I want better health. How specifically do you want better health? Do you want to work out more? Do you want to lose weight? Or what are your specific goals? And again, like we get into like the how much, or how do you know? And even there's something called like an evidence procedure you can kind of grind down to. So it's like, how do you know when you've achieved this kind of question?
Right. Yeah.
And then once they've answered one of these categories, I'm going to switch and say, okay, so now that you've told me your personal, how about professionally? And again, I might say like your health impacts yourself professionally, your energy, your well-being, how you show up in your job or your profession.
Yeah. And
then how about financially? It's going to impact, this will impact your earning power, how much you're able to save for retirement, things like that. So how about financially? How is that showing up for you?
Right.
And one other thing with financially, eventually the conversation is going to go to money. So why not start it, a little bit earlier and tie it to finances ahead of time, so that we're not So it actually becomes even more comfortable at the end of the call, because eventually it's all going to go to money, because you're going to be making an offer that's going to be paid to get into the program.
That's actually so great. I love that.
Awesome. And then the next thing is going to be, okay, so out of these three areas that we just talked about, personal, professional, financial, which one is most important to you? And I want them to rank all three of them.
Mm-hmm.
So let's rank all three on a scale of, 1 to 3. And it doesn't matter how they answer, because even though they took the call on health, they might say financial, or they might say professional, and that's okay. Because all we're really looking to do here is to understand the drivers.
Yeah.
Because when we understand the drivers of what's most important to them, that's when we know really how to get them on a more emotional level.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yep. Totally.
So once I understand their most important area in life, the next, and they'll usually give me a problem associated with it too. But then I'm going to ask them, okay, so what's the biggest challenge in that area that's preventing you from achieving your goal right now?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then once I have that, I'm actually going to I'm going to ask them, so what's it costing you not to have achieved this already in life? And kind of get them, it kind of just reverses it and gets a little bit of a different answer.
Right.
And I might even say, like, how is this costing you energetically? Or how is this costing you in your health? Because especially if they're financial, I'm going to kind of tie it back in. How is this costing you at home, in your home life?
Yeah.
And the main goal here is we just want them to understand that by not having achieved this, it has a big cost.
Yes.
That making sense?
Totally. Yep.
And it's basically, I'm going to know up front that, them not having achieved this goal is weighing on them. So I want to tie it into health, and I want to tie in what's, relating that what's most important to them to the health program ultimately.
Got it.
And again, use their words. So when they give you certain words, use their own words. Don't try to mind read, or sometimes a lot of people, I think, and I do this too. Sometimes it's got to default to, I want to. They're leading me in a certain direction, so I want to be like, oh, you mean this? But I'd suggest just kind of using their words, especially when we're getting to like what's most important to them.
Yeah.
Not trying to fill in the gaps there. And then being flexible too. So if something comes out that surprises you, just roll with it. You never know what the answer is going to be, so be flexible with it.
Yep.
So once we've kind of identified that, and then we're going to go one more level, and it's okay. So what's now that we really understand what it's costing them and which area is most important, it's going to be another question like what's most important about meeting this particular area? What's most important about meeting this particular value or area? Or if they said something like, my goal is to make $50,000 a month, I might say, what's most important about you making that $50,000 a month?
Mm-hmm.
So what's most important to you about, losing 50 pounds over 6 months?
Mm-hmm.
What I'm looking for is an emotion. I'm looking to get into an emotion there.
Right.
They might say, let's say, what's most important to you about losing 50 pounds a month? Well, I want to feel better. So I'd say, okay, so then I might, there's something called chunking up again, getting to like more higher level emotional states.
Okay.
So I might say, okay, so you want to feel better. So what's important about feeling better?
Yeah.
And then they say, I want to feel better, so I have more energy. And I say, okay, and what else do you want to, what else do you want to feel? And they might say, well, I want to feel happier. I want to feel more vibrant. Something along those lines. So I want to get those emotions out of them, because ultimately, what we're doing is we're gonna find out their most important area, their most important goal, and then tie the emotions, and then we want to bring all of that back into the program.
Right. Okay.
Now the last thing on the call that I'm gonna that I want to do is now that I have what I'm looking for, now I want to get them to commit to solving this.
Right.
So I might say something like, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how committed are you to accomplishing this? And I might, when I say that, I might say, how committed are you to accomplishing this, so that you can, I might tie in their feelings, so you can have that happiness, so you can have that energy, so you can have that life. And here, this is always interesting. Well, our goal is to get them to a 10. I mean, obviously, if we can get them to a 10 and we can show them that, this is what's most important to them, and we have them at a level 10, then when we make our offer, we can be like, okay, but you told me you were at a level 10 on this. This is the solution. I want to get you here. So that's kind of what we're doing. But they might say something like a 7. They might say an 8, a 9. If they give me like a 9, I might ask them a question like, okay, have you ever been at a 10 in anything in life? What would it take to get you to a 10? I might ask that. And then I might even say something like, since this is your most important goal, you told me this is what's most important to you, don't you think it would be rather important to be at a level 10 on this? And this is kind of where some of the coaching starts right away. We're already kind of coaching them to get into a high level commitment onto achieving their most important goal. Right. Now, if they came in even lower and they said like, I'm a 7, I'm an 8, and I might ask them, I'm going to go into that. And again, I might come with that question. Have you ever been, an 8, 9, or 10? If they said 7, and if they came back and said like 7 feels comfortable to me, and I might say, okay, well, don't you think that, to achieve what's most important, it might require you to step out of your comfort zone a little bit? And since you said this is, most important to you, don't you think that, being committed at a level higher is going to be necessary to, to break through and get past this and not just stay comfortable? Does that make sense?
Totally. Yep, it does.
And then one other kind of, this is like almost like a troubleshooting script if they come in lower. But if they can't get past like 7, or they're coming in even lower, I might tie it back to, because usually they would have heard some level of your story, your personal story, something like that. And I might come and say something like, I shared some deep truths about me, and when you heard my story, my personal, and I try to be vulnerable and honest. And I hope you can be, kind of vulnerable and honest with me. So what's preventing you from really getting past where you're at here? Because, if I'm going to work with you, I really need you to be at a high level of commitment to, for us to achieve any success. Because ultimately, if a client is, at a 5, a 6, or 7, they're kind of almost dooming themselves to failure.
Yeah.
They're not quite at that level. So I want to get them, and I don't mind getting them to an 8, 9, or 10, but I want to get them as high as I can get them, because some people are wired where, a 10 is impossible, and whatever their experiences were, they just don't get to a 10, but they get to a 9, or they get to an 8. But I want to get them to as high as I can get them. Is that pretty clear?
Yes.
And then this is where, that's the foundation of the conversation right there. And then from here, now I'm going to go into, okay, now that you've told me this is my program, this is what I offer. And I'm going to go, and this is where that blueprint I talked about in the beginning of the call is going to come into place. So I'm going to find the most relevant areas of the program and then say, I know you want to achieve this. This is why I have step 1. Or this is why step 5 of my program is going to help you get there, because we're going to do X, Y, and Z, and you're going to do this. We're going to achieve that, and then from there, once we've kind of tied the program to their high level outcome, that's when we're going to shift to the financial conversation.
Okay.
So making sense?
Yes, it is.
Is this helpful?
Some parts, well, it's funny because a lot of what you're saying, not a lot, but majority of what you're saying, my my closing the deals similar, but you have woven in elements that I think make it even stronger.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And that's what I would say is, this is kind of what I use and what works for me and what's to a higher level of, sales.
Yeah.
However, if you have, I mean, play with it, try, if you have your own thing, use some of it, bring in some of these elements, kind of, test, because I'm all for testing, and I'm all for, everybody having their own personality, everybody having their own style.
Yeah.
As long as you're getting the right results.
Right.
So that's the thing. So this is like a foundational, this is a backbone on how you can do these calls. And how you can make them. If you're getting like 1 out of every 10, I want to get you to like a minimum of 3 out of 10. Ultimately, I'd like to get to like closer to like a 5 out of 10 close rate, so that you're closing more people than not. And depending on the offer size, if it's a smaller offer, you might even go higher than that.
Right.
But if you're getting into these, high-end offers, then it's harder. It gets harder to. It's more challenging to get as many yeses.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's the basis of the enrollment conversation, and I think I'm going to get you in between this call and the next call, I'll get you some kind of PDF documents that like an outline of this conversation, so you can have that for your reference. I know you took some notes here, and I can get you the recording of this call as well.
Oh, perfect.
But I want you to have kind of this as an outline, so I'll get you a PDF on that, and I'll get you a PDF on the blueprint, but I do want to spend some time on that too. So I think we could start that now.
Okay.
But tell me about your offers. So tell me about what your main offers are, and then let's go into. So let's start with your offers and your program. And I think we've had a little bit about this, but I want to hear like in detail all of these.
Sure.
And then let's shift to a little bit about your target market, depending on how much time we have on the call today, and then we'll kind of take that from there.
Okay.
So let's hear about your offers.
Yeah. So my offers are morphing, and they're expanding. So my ultimate offer, like the most transformational. Oh, sorry. Actually, my phone, not my dog. But the most transformational offer is a one-on-one private coaching 90 days. So that's 12 sessions total, an hour each week.
Okay,
so that's where.
So 1 second. One-on-one private coaching, 12 sessions, 1 hour each week.
Yes, 90 days.
One-on-one. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. And we usually do that. Most of the time it's been happening over the phone. People like the convenience. They kind of like the phone because it shields them if we're talking about deep stuff. But I can do it in person. I can do it on a Zoom or whatever.
And what do you charge?
I charge $14.97.
Okay.
And I do this. Sorry.
Do you take payment plans on that, or is it all like a lump sum?
I do. So my payment in full is $14.97. My payment plan is $5.99 a month for 3 months.
For 3 months. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. What were you saying? I started.
Oh no. And so the school I went to, got certified from, they have a structured, scripted program. So we can use that as a baseline, as a tool.
Okay.
Just like they had the script for, the closing the deal, they call it, as well. So I have a baseline, and I usually bring people through. They usually come to me initially for health reasons. And initially the program is around health, but we dig a lot deeper. And so I find out it's other areas of their life that maybe are troubling them, or something from the past that they haven't been able to deal with, or old habits they can't break. Yep.
And that makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of health issues do stem from other areas of life, whether there's some hidden trauma or things along that line. So that it definitely makes sense that you're almost like you're part health coach, part life coach.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways there.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have like an outline of the program that you do that you could maybe email me, or just give me
Um,
like of like the different, just
Topic.
not the details, but like the topics. The so like if this was a 12-week session, like what are the 12 topics? Because those topics are going to be we probably want to what we're going to want to do is break them down a little bit. But those
Okay.
topics are going to be the keys of the blueprint that I want you to create. And
Okay.
then when we're having that strategy call, we're going to find, which of those 12 are going to tie most importantly to this person's values. So if we've had
Mm,
that conversation that we just talked about, I might say, okay, yeah, well, in week 3, we're going to go deep onto, the emotional drivers that cause overeating or whatever, whatever that
yeah.
is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and this is going to help you solve that problem. And you said that this was one of your biggest challenges. So this step here is going to be the step that's going to really take you from having that challenge to really resolving that. So
Okay.
something along those lines.
Okay. I can send that to you.
Okay. So that'll be useful so we can get structured there. And then
Okay.
so that'll be between this call and next call. I'll kind of I'll work with that, and I'll send you some homework kind of too to work on filling out this blueprint.
Okay.
And then also, so tell me more about your ideal target market client as you define them now.
Now my ideal target market client is a busy working professional woman from her 30s to 50s
Yep.
who is looking to step into her personal power and finally have self-compassion.
And have self-compassion. Okay. And where are you? So right now, where are you finding your clients?
Um, Through Meetup that I host or Yelp, people found me, or networking. I have not been successful with the workshops. I have not found, I mean, I have some booked next year, but the locations I've had thus far, or maybe the way my messaging is for the workshop topic, there's something not gelling.
Okay.
And also acquaintances. Through acquaintances, that might become my client. So either somebody kind of knows me, or I've networked with them, or maybe someone referred someone to me.
Are you doing anything when somebody refers you someone? Do you have any sort of system for either giving them a gift or recognizing them for referrals?
Um, I need to get better at that. Um, I need to formalize that a little more, I think, just for my own edification, right? Like as part of my
Yeah.
overall business, you know?
So I find that pretty useful. And you've seen, I think, I use that company send out cards.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have, especially, so if I do a talk, I'll usually send a card to everybody. And if they sign up with me, I'll probably send them a pack of brownies or something.
Okay.
And if they and then also if they refer me someone, I'll definitely send them brownies or send them like some sort of a gift. So
Okay.
having a system like that can be very useful because sometimes I've talked to business owners that they have like one or two people that drive them like 70% of their business.
Oh, wow.
um, and so when you find these power networkers, and
Yeah.
sometimes they definitely exist. I've met a few of them recently. Um, as long as you're recognizing and rewarding them, that can be another path to business. And that's again, that's probably more of a long-term strategy, but it's something to consider.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think it's great.
I think a good question kind of to ask is, like, can you name the top three referral, your top three referral clients? Can you name, like, can you give their name and address of like the top three people that refer you business? That's always a good question to ask, because what I find is most business owners they might name one, but they'll usually stump themselves on trying to name three. And it's important because, you know, a lot of, you know, you go to chambers, you go to a lot of these networking groups, and what do they say? Their number one source is word of mouth.
Yes. I want more of that.
Yeah. So it starts with recognizing people so that that they want to, you know, that way they want to refer you more and they're feeling good about themselves for doing it. So that's something I like to focus on as well.
So would you even say, like, even if someone refers somebody to you and it doesn't pan out, you still send a card?
Yeah, definitely. I might not send the full brownie suite because that costs a little bit more, but I would definitely do something to recognize them. And as you develop more and you really get if you get a clear understanding of what your closing ratio is, things like that, it becomes easier. Then it's like, okay, if this person refers me business, you know, I'm going to close, you know, 3 of every 10 that they refer me, so I can get an idea of how much a referral is actually worth to me if I do the math.
Okay, got it.
And then it's like, okay, so then I can kind of come up with an idea of, you know, what I can kind of spend on, because it's just another vehicle. I mean, you're either going to spend, ultimately marketing, you're going to spend the money either on ads, or you're going to spend, or, you know, you can think about it as spending money on, you know, people that are referring you, because it's the same kind of spend. It's all about driving leads. So either that money is going to go towards your Facebook advertising or your Instagram ads, or it's going to go to, you know, someone, a person, because they're driving you business. Mm-hmm. So we want to find where you're getting the best bang for your buck. Yes. And then we want to focus our spend there. And it's probably going to be a little bit of each, but you know, if we have somebody that's doing that, then it's definitely worth it to develop that relationship and to reward them when they're bringing in referrals too. Okay. So it's important.
Yeah.
That's my main point there. Awesome. And then, so tell me more about your ideal clients. Have you ever done like an avatar worksheet kind of thing where so to define that, so like a customer avatar is essentially another term for target market client. But there's a exercise very common in if you get into like the detailed marketing and you get into high level marketing, is you want to not only define your target market client, but you want to actually like 3-dimensionalize that person, as if you're basically personifying your target market as if they were one person. So it becomes interesting because we go as far as like giving that person a name, giving that person an exact age, and then we go like, okay, so what? So let's think about this and let's personify, like, because we might have kind of a broad spectrum of interest, but out of all this, what would we say is the person I like to work with the most? Or what would we say are the people that are already the ones that are buying the most expensive program? And we're trying to personify them and work backwards, because this becomes very useful when we actually start developing advertising. So like when we're going to run ads, I want to know really, really specifically, you know, who is my customer avatar. Okay. So that's another thing I have a worksheet for. I don't want to overwhelm you with too much, but
no, please. I will do whatever homework and.
Okay, good. But what it does is it walks you through. Again, we're gonna give this person a name. It's gonna be, and you can have. It's okay to have more than one, but usually we're gonna start with one, obviously, and it's gonna be. And we're gonna try to think of it in terms of who is my most profitable market segment. So who is the type of person that's going to be my most profitable too? So when we're thinking of one, because you might have different niches that you kind of serve, but maybe one of them is only buying a lower level program. So we're thinking about the ones who are the people that are actually buying my highest level program. or the one that I'm making the most money off of.
Mm-hmm.
So, and sometimes it could be that you prefer, some people prefer to sell the group coaching packages because they're more leveraged. Whereas the one-on-one are, it's 1 hour, one client. Whereas a group coaching is 1 hour, unlimited clients. I mean, however many you can fit.
Yeah, I like the small group too. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's another, and that's ultimately like if you're finding yourself becoming in really high demand, at some point you're going to have to shift to that, because that's all about how you can scale. Because you can't scale your personal time.
Right.
There's no way to do that, but you can scale by switching to a group model, or by doing any sort of one-to-many platform. So that could be like live workshops, masterminds, communities, group calls, group coaching, Zoom calls, things like that. And I'm trying to think. And then we're also going to want to do some research too about what people are searching for on like Google. So there's a number of tools that I use, and we'll spend some time, because some of them are paid, but I pay for them so we can use my tools. We'll spend some time looking at exactly, what people are searching for on Google when it comes to like health coaching, especially, and we can localize it too, like what people are searching for in Ventura County, Los Angeles County, like these areas. And then we can kind of reverse engineer that for when you're producing content, or like on your LinkedIn profile or your Facebook descriptions. Like, are you hitting those keyword terms there?
Okay.
Because, and I say this to a lot of people, like especially on LinkedIn, if somebody Googles your name, one of the top 3 results is going to be like your LinkedIn profile and your Facebook profile. So it's like, make sure that when they're actually searching you, that you're representing yourself the way that you want to be represented, right? Because this day and age, everybody is they want to validate you, and they want to validate you professionally. They want to know that they're working with somebody that's qualified. So it's like being aware of, and they call this reputation management too.
Okay.
It's like being aware of what other people are saying. And this comes, if you get into real reputation management, that comes down to like, if you get a negative Yelp review, how are you handling that? That kind of stuff too. Or some people have like rip-off report, which is that's like the worst thing that can happen, because it's so well SEO'd that like if somebody has a rip-off report against you, like it's like the first thing that always shows up on people's profiles. And
whoa,
there's a whole thing there where I've talked to people that have gotten in, like rip-off report will charge you like 10 grand to get it removed. So it's like a whole like kind of scam almost.
Are you serious? That's horrible. Oh
pretty
my
bad.
God. Oh.
It's pretty bad, but it usually takes wrongdoing to get put on there.
Okay.
So I mean, people aren't really going to put you on there unless somebody's really complained because you haven't delivered a result for them, or haven't shown up and haven't fulfilled. But yeah, I did talk to somebody recently that had that happen, and they actually paid it because they were in a position where they could afford it.
Right.
And it was that important to them. But it's pretty crazy how your reputation matters, though. What people find when they search you.
That's true.
So it really does. So it's like being in command of what that looks like ahead of time, and be controlling your own narrative, so that when somebody looks you up, they're seeing what you want them to see.
Right.
Not the other way around.
Right.
Awesome. I'm trying to. Okay, so we talked about avatar, and we talked about some keyword terms. And again, then it's once we get to the avatar, then we're going to look also about like, okay, so now that we know specifically who this person is, now let's brainstorm, like, where does this person hang out?
Yes, I definitely want to talk about that.
Yeah. So it's like, where does this person where's this person spending their time?
Yeah. And
we can look at that, and I know I have a rough target market of what you're looking for, but it's so women like 30 to 50s, where are they spending their time? Where are they networking? what are their passions.
Mm-hmm.
So if I know that they have a particular interest, or they're, they're into health, what gyms are they going to, or what, things
Yes.
like that even.
Yes.
So it's like, where can I find these people?
Exactly.
And once we, once we have that, we can work backwards, and then we can find either groups like Facebook groups or Instagram or LinkedIn groups, and we can start positioning ourselves in those groups, although there's limitations there. We can't just spam. um, but we can leverage that kind of stuff because,
Does Instagram have groups?
sorry, not Instagram, but Facebook and LinkedIn do. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But we can leverage those kind of communities because they're basically niche down communities that are, a host to who we want to target.
That's perfect. That's what I want to do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we just have to, the only thing is you have to read the rules, because a lot of them have like, you can only market 1 day a week, or you can't market at all. But you can get in there and you can position yourself as an expert, and you can start answering questions, and you can, like subtly mention that you're a health coach and that this is how you would handle a situation or something like that. And as long as you're not like overtly spamming and marketing people, participating in groups can be an amazing strategy for lead generation if done correctly, and I would say over a long-term strategy too. If you get in there on a short-term strategy and that's where you just start, come to my workshop without building any relationships and things like that, and that just doesn't, that either gets you kicked out, or it just doesn't click with people, and it doesn't tend to work on a more general level.
Yeah, I mean, I love to talk about the long-term strategy and the short-term strategy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know you have New Year's coming up, so that's that's a big driver.
Yes.
Obviously. So with you, and we'll get more into that coming forward, but I'd like to come up with some ideas on how to position your brand, and kind of have almost like a social media campaign set up in advance.
Yes.
So that when New Year's rolls around, you're ready with your marketing. You're right. You scheduled several of your posts in advance, but you're hitting on that need, because yes, New Year's is always peak season for gym memberships, and peak season for getting people that want to make changes in their lives.
Right.
So we want to get you ahead of that. So that's going to be one of the goals that I want to help you develop too, is how we can get you positioned so that when New Year's does roll around, that you're ready for it, and that you have strategies set, and probably some meetup groups, some things like that are all about New Year's resolution goals.
Like hosting those, you mean?
Yeah, those too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My experience has been that hosting them is going to be more effective than networking and attending them.
Yeah.
I mean, there's value in doing that, but like there's something about hosting it that gives you that extra level of prestige and has people looking at you in a different light that it doesn't happen when you're just attending. So
exactly. Yeah. Okay.
And I've worked in the seminar industry for a while, and it's funny because you might be sitting next to somebody at a seminar. I've seen this happen a lot where, people sit next to someone that's they happen to be like very wealthy and nobody knows it. And then all of a sudden they get on stage a little bit later, and all of a sudden you see them on stage, and all of a sudden you realize who they are. And then there's like people fighting to talk to them after that. Because they've now developed that level of prestige that wasn't there before. Or another example, there's a guy that does speaking that was, he's an actor. His name's Glenn Morshower, but he was on like the TV show 24 as a pretty main character, not like the main character, obviously not Kiefer, but he shared a story recently. I saw him speak on stage about how he was in line at a buffet line after a seminar, and this one guy like wouldn't give him the time of day. And then after he went on stage and the guy realized who he was, and this is the guy that wouldn't give him the time of day was also kind of a big speaker, but he came back to him and wanted to talk to him. And, Glenn was just like, sorry, kind of missed your opportunity there when you looked right through me when you didn't know who I was.
So obnoxious.
It is a bit obnoxious, but it just shows that people tend to value, they see you in a different light when you're on stage, and when they see you as an expert, and when they see you as somebody that might be able to offer some kind of a solution, whether that's because you have a giant network, like that guy probably knows people that the other person was interested in being introduced to, or because you offer the solution to their problem because you're a health coach, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, I have a huge health problem, I want to talk to you, I want to hear about this, or maybe they want to start their own health practice, and they're like, oh, I want to pick your brain, and all that.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's definitely a market for coaching coaches how to coach. So.
Oh, there's a humongous market for that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of people that want to do it, that don't know how to get their foot in the door. And that could be something you could consider doing too, or developing a program around that if that's something you're interested in.
Yeah.
And it might be down the line too.
Probably a little down the line, but I am definitely open to that.
Yeah. Awesome. So I think this was a lot of information, and I think this would probably be a good time to either just finish with a few questions if you have any, and then kind of wrap up. And I'll send you, again, I'll start probably a little bit later tonight, but I'll send you a bunch of PDFs and some homework assignments that I think will be useful for you to get started with.
Perfect.
But do you have any questions that came up from all this that we talked about today? Because this was a lot.
It was a lot, but I'm tracking. I'm with you.
Right.
I love hosting meetups, and it's actually very comfortable for me. It's like I mentioned, the workshop situation has not panned out for me. Based on what and I know we're rounding out our time right now for this session, but just in throwing it out there, what, for my audience, what you know of them right now, without doing the avatar yet, what would be good places, truly, if you think about it? I live in Ventura, I'm in Ventura County, I might go to LA County, but I don't want to have to necessarily, but I will if I have to. Where would be places that you think in general to host workshops where people will be willing to pay the price for my package?
So places to host the workshop, or
so where there's the audience that those people are willing to spend the money, because like I found there's many places that people just are not willing to spend the money. Like They see you and that's great, so glad, but it's like they don't want to spend the $1,500.
Well, I don't think the place matters so much as how you're feeling, how you're going about booking or filling the room. So, I mean, to me, it doesn't matter where you do a talk. It matters on the strategy that you're employing to actually get people to sign up for it. So, I mean, I think you could do a talk anywhere. You could do a talk at a library. You could do a talk at a coffee bean conference room. You could do. It doesn't matter where you're doing the talk. It's a matter of how you're finding the people in advance that are going to attend.
Okay.
So that comes down to, if you're not finding the right audience, it will come down to your messaging, and we can talk. That's something we'll cover next week, is messaging.
Okay. Good.
So how are you marketing? How are you currently marketing your meetup groups, or how are you currently marketing your seminar, whatever this is? If it's a meetup or if it's just an event that you're hosting. Because if people aren't showing up, that's partly because you're not hitting on their most important things. So you're not finding their drivers on what's inspiring them to show up.
Right.
And some, gyms obviously are a market of where people are looking to improve their health. Some gyms might allow you to post on their bulletin board, or post on their, or put a flyer up front, something like that, which isn't going to be not a fantastic strategy, but it's something that can work. Yeah. So, and if you belong to a gym, don't be afraid to become social and start having conversations with you, because you're going to find target market clients at gyms. That's for sure.
Yeah, my gym, people are just not willing to pay. They're just, I mean, there's just this bottleneck. And I mean, it goes for even the services of the gym. If they try to
Yep.
offer something that's a little more high end,
Yep.
people don't usually go for it. So yeah, it's like I have to aim towards like the higher end gyms and then obviously create the right messaging.
Yeah. I mean, I know a guy that goes to, what's the, was it Equinox? Is that the
Yeah,
high?
it's the high end one.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know a guy that like, he pulls a lot of like high end clients out of the Equinox, but he doesn't even do health coaching. He does like internet marketing. But he'll find people that are in the training space, et cetera, and then he'll pull them because people that are going to a gym like that tend to have more, they tend to be more qualified.
Oh yeah.
In general. So then, maybe if that gym is not, maybe that gym is just not the right spot for your target market. But then again, it is. Sometimes you'd be surprised. It's just you're just not hitting on the right drivers. The way that you're pitching your way you're having your little 3-second elevator pitch or whatever, and that could be because they're looking to lose weight. Maybe they need to have that tied back to their financial position. So it's like, when I help you lose weight, it's gonna you're gonna have more energy, so you can make more money, so that you can achieve more in your job. So because maybe their driver isn't health, their driver is professional or financial, and that tends to happen a lot. I think.
And that's where I need the help. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, people are always interested in making more money.
Yeah.
There's one talk I went to once. They said that if you can tie whatever it is you sell back to somebody making more money, you can basically charge 10 times more and get it.
Really?
And it's true, because if it's tied to making more money, it becomes an investment rather than a cost. So if we can
true, that's brilliant.
So if we can frame you as an investment where you're investing the money now, but when you have all this more energy and you're able to accomplish more, you're going to get that money back in tenfold or whatever.
That's exactly what. Okay, I'm excited for the messaging.
Cool. Okay, so then so let's wrap up for today.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, so either tonight or possibly first thing tomorrow, I'll get you all the because I just have a lot to do today, but I'll get you all the kind of your homework assignments and a couple documents to go over.
Okay.
And I'll get you like an outline of the basic call script also that I think will be useful for you.
Okay.
And then we'll focus more on messaging next week, and then we'll go and then based on what you're able to complete between this week and next week too.
Yeah.
We'll go over in detail too, more about like your avatar and how we can find those people and all of that.
Great. And then should we schedule some time next week? Because I know
let's do that now. So give me a second. Let me get my phone.
Yep. Let's see what I got. Oh yeah, next week's a short week too, huh?
Let me see. Is next week Thanksgiving already?
It is. Is that nuts?
It comes up quick.
Should we do the week after that?
We could. That's fine.
That
We'll give you some extra time.
Yeah, that might be helpful considering I hope not to work next Thursday and Friday.
Okay, so let's do that. So Tuesday the 28th. What do you want to stick with noon?
I've got a noon right now.
Okay.
Could you possibly do 10:30?
How about can you do like 11 or? I have an appointment that goes till 10:30, so I just I need a little bit of a gap there.
How about 4 to 5? Is that okay?
That works. Yeah, 4 to 5 is good.
Let's do 4 to 5.
Okay, so Tuesday the 28th, 4 to 5.
Yep.
And this is called. Okay, perfect.
Great.
And that'll give you some time to work on everything too. So.
Okay, perfect.
Especially with the
Jinx. Bye.
All right, bye. Bye for now. Thanks, Kristie.
Okay. Thank you.